Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Handford, and my wife, Dennae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur. On the podcast with us today is Jordan Fox. And Jordan, thank you so much for taking some time out of your schedule to be with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Hi, Jordan. We are looking forward to talking with you, and we'd like for you to get us started by just telling us a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur and where your focus is right now.
Entrepreneurially, I had no idea what an entrepreneur was going into college, currently 23 years old, and ended up leaving JMU playing soccer. It's a D1 school out of Central Virginia, and ended up leaving school after sophomore year to pursue more meaningful experiential learning experiences. And that one thing led to another, went through the residential real estate industry for a little bit and ended up starting up a marketing company, digital agency, focused around creating content and Facebook ads for residential real estate businesses. And that's currently where I'm at and looking to move forward. We'll see where I'm at within the next 6 months.
Sure. That's awesome. So talk to us as you've kind of launched into this different, experiential learning phase and, going into starting the digital marketing agency. I want to dive into some of the tough decisions that you've had. And I want you to start us off with one that, maybe had a not so good outcome. I call it like the sore thumb tough decision. It always sticks out in your mind, and some of the lessons that you learned through that tough decision.
There's a couple that come to mind, but the most tangible, immediate one would be a buddy and I went in to help out a high school class. They're a DECA program, and DECA is around developing students in marketing, hospitality, leadership. And we decided to help these students with their project in hosting a golf tournament to raise money for the Children's Hospital. Put in probably around at least 100 hours into volunteering with that group, my buddy and I both putting our own money forward to help fund different marketing campaigns. And at the end of the day, a week out from the golf tournament, things got cut. And it was hard, but at the end of the day, the group had different goals as to what success looked like. And the timeline for turnaround on a golf tournament to be successful was very tight, considering it was our first one. So that's probably the biggest, most immediate experience that's had a, knot in my stomach for a little bit.
Sure, I can imagine. So let's dissect that just a little bit. So what was it initially that had you aligning with this group to begin with to be able to do this with the golf tournament?
My buddy actually started October of last year. We always do something around breast cancer. One of the teachers at my mom's school came down with breast cancer. She had just moved there from North Carolina. And just one thing after another kept hitting her. She didn't have any paid leave because she was new and all these things. So we raised money for her just to help her family out with groceries and things like that, delivered and all of that, along with getting 300 t-shirts, pink t-shirts made for the school to wear on Wednesdays, which was the day of her chemo. And so the year after that, we were speaking of the DECA class about it. And these students kind of came forward because that project resonated with what they wanted to do for their project. So we kind of looked at things from different angles. We all love sports. My dad runs an event incentives company. So we had some help in those areas and decided to try to throw on a golf tournament.
And what was it that was the final deciding factor with that organization or that group that had you doing this, that they pulled the plug on it?
Essentially, we had around 45 people verbally committed, which we needed 40 to break through our threshold and our minimum. But at the end of the day, of course, it was 2 weeks out. Everyone started to panic, scramble a little bit, and 2 people were paid and through the door, despite having an online landing page set up for people to pay online, etc. So it got a little dicey in terms of, hey, we're actually losing money instead of raising money for the hospital, and measuring success in terms of financial goals up front, as opposed to, following through and the meaning behind what we're doing.
Yeah, I can see some challenges on both sides of it where, from an organization standpoint, having to upfront money or front money if for some reason the 45 don't actually, chalk up the money. It's a hard thing to decide on. I mean, I can definitely see that being a tough decision because, there's, events that, we've put on before where we've had, 40, 50, 60 people say, yes, we want to go. We think it's a great idea. And then it comes to ponying up and you don't get but 20, 30% of those people to actually register and do something.
Exactly. Like that's my thoughts when you're talking about, the podcast and your ability to schedule these out daily. It's like dealing with people and scheduling people and all of that's definitely a big challenge. So I commend you for being able to keep with this. But no, essentially it's been interesting because our different paths moving forward have been so different. I'm planning on hosting several golf tournaments down the line in terms of certain charity work I do, whereas these group of people, looking to go play sports in college, just different paths. So it's been an interesting learning process, and I continue to reflect on it and pull from different points.
So looking back at that tough decision, have you dissected it enough at this point to determine what you could have done differently to have made a more positive outcome in that one?
I believe so. I mean, first off, identifying the goals up front, which we did, but identifying how we're measuring those goals a lot more specifically would have been huge and just kind of set the tone in terms of expectations and following through on different paths and with people a lot more almost cutthroat. My buddy and I especially ended up reaching out to a lot of people in our networks that, we kind of stuck our neck out for and had to call them 2 days before the event saying, hey, never mind, I'm sorry, and that's never a fun feeling. So probably that's the biggest key factor up front that we didn't cover fully.
I can see, just taking some of these lessons and applying it to, even in a business setting where you're trying to hit sales goals or whatever is to make sure that those goals that you have in place, how are you going to measure those goals and then set that with your team?
Yes, it's huge. It's huge. The communication lines between all of it, high schoolers, guys who are just out of college or that age, managing the egos and the attitudes and different pieces, which everyone was great up until things started to hit the fan. So that's keeping that front of mind's definitely been huge moving forward.
So let's shift a little bit here and talk about a tough decision that you've had to make that had a really good and positive outcome and some of those lessons.
Sure. Let's see. Upon leaving college was definitely a very hard decision. And at first, the path was very unknown. Yeah, even though I told one of the professors who I talked with weekly before leaving, my quote unquote plan. And just through persistence and not really having any other way, ended up being an incredible experience. I was pursuing experiential learning within a few different areas of life upon leaving. And at the end of 6 months was probably offered 7 or 8 jobs with reputable companies from reputable people and ended up shadowing a couple prominent leaders in their spaces for 3 months or so upon leaving. So that was an incredible experience to kind of kickstart me on this journey. Now been 2.5 years.
So Jordan, just out of curiosity, can you tell us what were you studying in your college program, and did you get any pushback from, your parents or professors or friends or anything like that? What happened when you did make that decision?
I was studying hospitality management at JMU, and essentially I just started reading different books based on the 5 areas of sustainability and individual sustainability, and just got curious in a bunch of different things. And my parents were not for the decision whatsoever. Actually, I got kickback from my parents' girlfriend at the time. Everybody in my life, it seemed, except for the vice president of the school and one of my professors and a couple classmates. So it was not fun at the time.
And how long did it take for you after that decision to realize that you had made a good choice?
I think before the decision was made, I decided that, or else I wouldn't have stuck with it. And there's hints of kind of questioning, almost doubt, but not quite, as different struggles come up. But I think the belief that this is the right choice has always been there before I even told anyone.
Can you talk a little bit about the strategies that you use when you are faced with a difficult decision?
Sure. Typically, I don't make any big decisions, quote unquote, big decisions in any timeline quicker than 3 days. I like to sit on it. I reach out to a few either professors, mentors, past teachers I've had in high school, even to just bounce ideas and different topics off of them. I try to find some alone time. And after talking to one of the founders at Gold's Gym, I asked him a very similar question. He said, it's not the big ones that scare me, it's the little ones that we don't necessarily think about as much and contemplate over. And so ever since speaking with him about that, that's kind of been my biggest, attention to detail topic over the past few months.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our show sponsors. When we return, we'll talk to Jordan about some of his favorites as it relates to his life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HandfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HandfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HandfordCapital.com. And we are back with Jordan Fox. And Jordan, I want you to talk to us about some technology in this series of quick questions and answers we call the trifecta. So start us off by talking to us about your favorite technology that you use in business that helps make your life easier every day.
Love it. Probably Instagram and GoToMeeting would be my top two.
And what's a favorite quote that you've heard that has helped you as an entrepreneur?
Life quote in general would be "Life begins at the end of your comfort zone" by Neil Donald Walsh.
And what's a book that you've read and would recommend?
The Happiness Hypothesis by Jonathan Haidt and Screw It, Let's Do It by Richard Branson.
And Jordan, what's the next thing for you right now on your vision and your dream board?
Right now, I'm currently working on a big project that has been in the works for about 2.5 years upon leaving school to campaign to build the nation's first reverse inclusion center. So essentially, it's a place built for uniquely abled young adults with different athletic facilities, rock climbing walls, etc., along with bakery, laundromat, grocery store, whatever it is, where people with common abilities can seek out the help of, youth with disabilities, rather than them always seeking our attention and services and things like that. So a project to campaign along those lines is my next big thing.
Well, it definitely is a big, exciting goal and big, exciting stuff. How can the listeners reach you to follow you more, maybe even get some more information on some of the new things that you're working on right now?
Instagram's probably the best place. I have a private account, but if you add me twice, I'll let you in. If I don't know you personally, JF Courage 15 is the user handle.
We'll make sure we add that into the show notes as well so that the listeners who don't have access to write it down right now can have that. Thank you so much, Jordan, for taking some time out of your schedule to be with us today. Look forward to following you as you continue to grow as an entrepreneur and having you on a future episode as well.
Awesome. Really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.